When God pulls you away, trust Him. There are moments in life when God removes people from your path, not as punishment, but as protection. If you have ever been separated from a narcissist, you know the deep pain of betrayal, manipulation, and loss. But what if I told you that this separation was God's way of setting you free? When God steps in and removes a narcissistic person from your life, it is because He sees what you cannot. He hears the conversations you don't. He knows the deceit behind their smile, the poison behind their words, and the danger behind their presence. While you may have struggled to let go, God made the final decision for you. But here's the part that may surprise you. Even after they discard you, the narcissist never truly forgets you. They may act like you never existed. They may slander your name. They may replace you quickly with someone else. But deep in their soul, you remain a lingering presence. Why? Because you represent something they cannot escape, the evidence of their failure, their weakness, and the power of God's deliverance. Today, we will uncover 5 strange ways a narcissist remembers you after God separates you from them. These truths will bring you peace, clarity, and confirmation that God did the right thing. 1. They remember you as a shameful failure, the one they couldn't destroy. A narcissist does not believe in losing. In their mind, they are the ultimate architect of every relationship, the one who controls, manipulates, and dictates how the story ends. They do not see people as individuals with God-given worth, emotions, and free will. Instead, they see them as possessions, objects to be used, drained, and discarded at their convenience. To them, relationships are not about love or connection. They are about domination. They believe their words are law, their will is absolute, and that no one walks away from them unless they allow it. But then, you did, and that is something they will never forgive themselves for. A narcissist builds their entire identity on the illusion of power. They thrive on controlling others, manipulating emotions, and breaking spirits. When they first entangled you in their web, they were certain they had you exactly where they wanted you. Dependent, insecure, and unable to see the truth, they played their mind games, twisting reality, conditioning you to question yourself, making you believe that they were the only stable force in your life. They eroded your confidence, your sense of self, your ability to distinguish right from wrong. But there was one thing they didn't account for: God. While they were weaving their deception, while they were planting seeds of doubt in your heart, God was watching. He saw the way they stole your peace, the way they drained your spirit, the way they turned love into a battlefield where you were always losing. He saw the nights you cried out, the prayers you whispered, the pain you endured in silence. And when the time was right, He stepped in. He opened your eyes. He strengthened your heart. He shattered the illusion they worked so hard to create. And then He led you out. To the narcissist, this was the ultimate betrayal. They did not expect you to leave, at least not on your own terms. Maybe they thought you would beg for another chance, crawl back to them, shattered and desperate for their approval. Maybe they thought they had broken you so completely that you would never find the strength to walk away. Or maybe they assumed that, like so many others before you, you would remain trapped in their endless cycle of abuse. But when you left, you didn't just walk away. You walked away victorious. You walked away whole. You walked away with your dignity, your faith, and your future still intact. And that is a failure they cannot accept. A narcissist cannot afford to admit defeat. Their ego is too fragile, their pride too great. So, rather than face the truth, that they lost control over you, they rewrite the story. They smear your name, painting you as the villain in their grand narrative. They tell anyone who will listen that you were the problem, that you were unstable, ungrateful, impossible to please. They distort the past, twisting every argument, every moment of doubt, every struggle, until they convinced themselves that they were the innocent one and you were simply too flawed to keep. But make no mistake, this is not about you. This is about them trying to erase the evidence of their failure. Because the truth, they remember. They remember every moment they tried to break you, every lie they told to keep you trapped, every tactic they used to keep you small, and how none of it worked. They remember how you resisted, how you saw through them, how, no matter how hard they tried, they could never fully control you. And most of all, they remember the moment you left, the moment they realized that their power over you had crumbled, the moment you chose yourself over their manipulation, the moment you walked away and never looked back. They will never admit it, but that moment haunts them, because it proved that they are not as powerful as they thought. It proved that God is greater than their deception. It proved that no matter how tightly they tried to hold you in their grip, when God decides to set someone free, no force on earth can stop it. So yes, they remember you, not with longing, not with affection, but with shame, because in their world, losing control is the greatest failure. And you were the one they couldn't break. 2. They remember you as the one who exposed their true face. A narcissist thrives in darkness, not physical darkness, but the kind that keeps people blind to the truth. They operate in a world of deception, carefully crafting an image that fools almost everyone around them. To outsiders, they are charming, successful, even kind. They know exactly how to say the right words, how to play the victim when necessary, how to turn people against one another, all while keeping their own hands clean. But then you saw the truth. You saw beyond the mask. You recognized the selfishness behind their generosity, the cruelty hidden within their charm, the lies disguised as sincerity. You noticed the subtle manipulation, the way they twisted words, the way they gaslighted you into doubting your own reality. You began to see the patterns, how they built others up just to tear them down, how they sought control over people's emotions, how they demanded loyalty while giving none in return. And worst of all, you refused to stay blind. That is why they will never forget you. A narcissist's greatest fear is exposure. Their power lies in secrecy, in illusion, in controlling the narrative, so that no one ever truly sees who they are. As long as they can manipulate perceptions, they maintain their dominance. But when someone, you, sees the truth, their carefully constructed world begins to crack. To them, this is a betrayal beyond words. You were supposed to believe in them. You were supposed to accept their version of reality, to defend them, to never question them. But instead, you saw through them. You saw the hypocrisy, the lies, the subtle but relentless emotional warfare. You recognized their hidden agenda, not because they told you, but because God opened your eyes. And once you see, you can never unsee. This is why they had to destroy you. They couldn't let you walk away with your truth intact. They couldn't allow others to hear what you knew. So they did what narcissists do best. They rewrote history. They smeared your name, twisted the story, painted themselves as the victim. They spread lies about you, whispering to anyone who would listen. They turned people against you, made you seem unstable, dramatic, bitter. But make no mistake, this wasn't about you. It was about them protecting their mask. Because if others started to believe you, if even one person began to see what you saw, their entire illusion would collapse. Their kingdom of deception would fall, and that is something they cannot allow. So they pretend you don't exist. They erase every trace of you, blocking, deleting, cutting off every connection. They speak of you as little as possible, not because they don't care, but because your very existence is a threat to their false reality. They know that somewhere out there you are walking freely, fully aware of the truth they desperately want hidden. And that is what keeps them up at night, Even after years have passed, even after they have moved on to new victims, they still remember you. Not because they love you, not because they miss you, but because you are proof that they were exposed and they can never take that back. Your escape, your survival, your healing is a constant reminder that they are not as powerful as they thought. That no matter how much they manipulate, no matter how carefully they craft their lies, there is always someone who will see. And that someone was you. If you have ever wondered why they try so hard to erase you, why they pretend you never existed, why they fight so hard to control the narrative even after you are gone, this is why. You are a reminder of the truth they want to forget, a reminder that their power was never real, a reminder that they lost, a reminder that, in the end, God always brings darkness into the light. If God has opened your eyes and freed you from deception, declare it boldly. Comment below, I see the truth and I am free. 3. They compare everyone who comes after you to you. A narcissist never lets go of someone completely. They may discard you, replace you, and act as if you never mattered, but in the depths of their mind, they will always compare. Not because they love you, not because they regret losing you, but because you represent something they cannot forget. A battle they thought they would win, but ultimately lost. Narcissists do not enter relationships for love, connection, or mutual growth. They enter them for control. They see people as pawns, sources of validation, tools to elevate their own ego, and extensions of their own carefully constructed image. You are never just a person to them, you are a possession, something to be controlled, something to be used. They convinced themselves that they had complete authority over you, that you would always come back, that you would never have the strength to leave. And yet, you did. And now, every single person they replace you with becomes a silent reminder that they were wrong. At first, they tell themselves that this new person is better than you. They cling to the idea that this person will be easier to control, more obedient, less difficult. They convince themselves that they have upgraded, that you were the problem all along, that they have finally found someone who will never resist, never see through them, never walk away. And for a while they may even believe their own lie. But narcissists cannot escape their own minds. As time passes, they begin to notice something unsettling. The new person is not you. Perhaps they are easier to control, but they are also boring. Perhaps they are compliant, but they lack the fire, the depth, the challenge. Perhaps they admire the narcissist, but not in the way you once did. And this realization, it eats at them. Because, for all their cruelty, for all their deception, narcissists admire strength. Not in a healthy way, not in a way that fosters love or respect, but in a way that fuels their own need for dominance. They take pride in breaking people who were once strong, in bending those who once stood tall. And you were supposed to be their masterpiece. You were supposed to be the one who finally surrendered, the one who accepted their version of reality, the one who gave up fighting. But you refused. You fought back. You questioned them. You called out their lies, and in the end, you left, something they never expected you to do. And now, no matter how many people they cycle through, they compare. Not because they long for you, but because they cannot erase the feeling of unfinished business. They thought they had complete control over you, but you proved them wrong. They expected to be the one who decided how your story ended, but instead, you wrote your own ending. And this is a reality they cannot change. Even as they parade their new partner around, even as they convince the world and themselves that they are happier now, they are secretly measuring them against you. They ask themselves, why isn't this person as passionate as they were? Why don't they fight for me the way they did? Why does it feel like something is missing? And then comes the most painful realization of all. The new person is not a challenge. There is no thrill in manipulating someone who was never strong to begin with. There is no pleasure in controlling someone who never resisted. And deep down, they recognize that the person standing beside them is not you. No matter how much they try to convince themselves otherwise, they are haunted by the contrast. This is why narcissists never truly move on. Their entire existence is rooted in control, and you were the one who got away. They cannot rewrite the past, no matter how hard they try. They cannot erase the fact that, at one point in time, someone saw through their deception and walked away for good. That is why they will always compare, not because they miss you, not because they love you, but because you are proof that they are not invincible. You are proof that their manipulation is not absolute. You are proof that their control is not permanent. You are proof that someone, against all odds, escaped their grasp. And that is something they will never be able to forget. For they remember you as proof that they are not invincible. A narcissist thrives on the belief that they are untouchable, that their power over others is absolute, that they will always be the one in control. They walk through life convinced that they are superior, more intelligent, more desirable, more cunning than everyone else. They do not simply seek admiration, they crave domination. Their identity is built on the illusion that no one can resist them, that no one can leave them unless they allow it, that no one is strong enough to challenge them. But then you did. And now, no matter how much they try to deny it, no matter how much they attempt to rewrite the past, you exist as undeniable proof that they are not as powerful as they once believed. They had convinced themselves that they had total control over you. They played their games, twisted your reality, manipulated your emotions, and conditioned you to doubt your own worth. They orchestrated scenarios where you felt small, helpless, and dependent on them, and for a time, they believed they had succeeded. They thought you were permanently trapped in their web, that no matter what they did, no matter how cruel or deceptive they became, you would never have the strength to leave. But something happened that they never expected. God stepped in. At first you may not have realized it. Maybe you still blamed yourself, still struggled with self-doubt, still questioned whether leaving was the right decision. But what the narcissist failed to understand was that God does not allow his children to remain in bondage. Slowly, he began opening your eyes. He began breaking the chains they had placed on you, strengthening you, restoring you, whispering truth where they had once planted lies. And then, one day, something shifted. You saw them for what they truly were. Not as a god, not as someone superior, but as a deeply broken, deeply insecure, deeply powerless person hiding behind a mask. And once you saw them clearly, you left. That was the moment the narcissist's world cracked, because for the first time they had to confront the reality that they are not all-powerful. Their manipulation did not work forever. Their control was not absolute. Their ability to bend people to their will was not as infallible as they believed. This is why they will never truly forget you. Not because they care, not because they regret losing you, but because you are the one who proved them wrong. You are the person who shattered their illusion of invincibility, the person who walked away unbroken when they were certain you would crumble. And that is something their fragile ego will never recover from. This is why they go to such great lengths to convince the world and themselves that they never cared about you. They will tell people that you were nothing, that you were weak, that they replaced you with someone better. They will spread lies, distort the truth, paint you as the villain. They will do everything in their power to ensure that no one sees the real story, that you were stronger than they ever imagined. But no matter how much they deny it, the memory lingers. Because deep inside, when the distractions fade, when the crowd is gone, when the noise dies down, they remember. They remember the moment they realized they had lost control. They remember the way you stopped believing their lies. They remember the look in your eyes when you saw them clearly for the first time. And worst of all, they remember that you survived. They remember that you healed. They remember that you walked away and never looked back. And that is something they cannot bear, because it proves that their power is nothing more than an illusion. It proves that their control is not permanent. It proves that no matter how much they manipulate, no matter how much they deceive, they are not gods. And if they are not gods, then what are they? That is the question they spend the rest of their lives trying to avoid, because the answer, the truth that you now know, is something they are too weak to face. They are nothing without control. They are empty without someone to manipulate. They are powerless against the truth. And you are the one who walked away, leaving them to drown in the reality they never wanted to face. 5. You are the lesson they will never learn. A narcissist is incapable of true self-reflection. To them, personal growth is unnecessary because, in their mind, they are never wrong. They never make mistakes that require correction, and they never feel the need to change. To admit that they need to grow would mean accepting responsibility for their actions, recognizing their flaws, and coming to terms with the damage they have caused to others. But narcissists are emotionally unequipped to handle self-awareness. They avoid introspection at all costs, deflecting blame, twisting reality, and rewriting history to protect the fragile illusion of their superiority. This is why they refuse to learn from losing you. A normal person, when faced with the loss of a meaningful relationship, will take time to process, to understand what went wrong, to recognize their own shortcomings, and hopefully to grow from the experience. But a narcissist does not believe in growth. Instead of asking themselves, "What could I have done differently?" or "What part did I play in this?" they immediately convince themselves that you were the problem, that you were ungrateful, weak, and incapable of appreciating them. They tell themselves that they were the ones who were wronged, that they gave so much and received so little, and that they were forced to leave because you were impossible to please. But beneath their arrogance, behind the mask of indifference they project to the world, a deep and unsettling truth lingers. Because no matter how much they try to convince themselves that losing you was meaningless, no matter how much they distort the past to cast themselves as the victim, a quiet but undeniable fact remains. They remember you. And they remember you not as a mistake they made, not as a love lost, but as a lesson they refused to learn. At first they distract themselves with someone new, rushing into another relationship, desperate to fill the void with another person who has not yet seen through them. They shower this new person with attention, putting them on a pedestal, convincing themselves that they have found someone better than you. They want you to see them as happy, fulfilled, and thriving without you, as if their life has only improved since your departure. But beneath the surface, there is no genuine joy, only an anxious need to prove to themselves and to the world that they are still in control. They do not want to acknowledge the truth, so they silence it with distractions. But distractions are temporary, and when the noise fades, when they are left alone with nothing but their thoughts, you remain, not because they miss you, not because they want you back, but because you were the one thing they could not break, the one person they could not mold, the one that proved them wrong. For a narcissist, power and control define their existence. Their relationships are not built on love, connection, or mutual growth, but on their ability to dominate and shape others to fit their expectations. They measure their success by how much influence they hold over a person's mind, by how effectively they can twist someone's perception of reality, by how deeply they can make someone believe that they are nothing without them. Their greatest satisfaction comes from breaking people. But when you walked away, their reality collapsed. You were supposed to remain trapped in their cycle, convinced of your own inadequacy, clinging to them for approval, too broken to leave. They had spent so much time and effort manipulating you, gaslighting you, making you question your own worth, and yet, despite everything, you found the strength to walk away. And that was something they never saw coming. They thought they had complete control over you, that no matter how much pain they inflicted, you would never leave. They assumed that their ability to manipulate you was unshakable. They believed they had stripped you of your independence, of your confidence, of your ability to think for yourself. But in the end, they were wrong. You proved that their control was an illusion, that their power was not as absolute as they believed, and that their ability to break people had met its limit. This is why they cannot forget you. It is not because they loved you, not because they miss you, and not because they regret losing you. It is because you were the one who shattered their illusion of invincibility. You were the undeniable proof that they are not as powerful as they thought, that their manipulation is not foolproof, that their control is not permanent. And that is a reality they cannot live with. So they keep running, seeking new victims, new distractions, new ways to avoid the truth. They tell themselves that next time things will be different, that next time they will win. They repeat the same patterns, repeating the same cycles, refusing to acknowledge the flaw that exists within them. They do not change, because to change would require learning, and learning would require humility, a trait they do not possess. But while they remain trapped in their own self-imposed cycle of destruction, you have moved forward, you have healed, you have grown, you have become stronger, wiser, more discerning. You have learned the lesson they refused to, and that is why you are free while they remain in bondage. And that is the greatest irony of all. They spent so much time trying to control you, to break you, to convince you that you would never be anything without them. But in the end, you walked away, and they are the ones who are left behind, stuck in their own endless cycle, forever running from the lesson that they will never learn, the victory of separation. When God separates you from a narcissist, it is never random. It is an act of divine intervention, a rescue mission designed to pull you out of something destructive before it can consume you entirely. He saw what you could not. He saw the deception, the manipulation, the slow erosion of your spirit. While you wrestled with confusion, questioning their actions, justifying their mistreatment, and hoping for change, God was already making a way for your escape. At first, the separation may have felt like a punishment, a deep and unbearable loss. You may have questioned why someone who once seemed so significant could discard you so easily, move on so quickly, and act as if you never mattered. But now, with time and clarity, you see the truth. God did not allow you to lose them. He freed you from a cycle that was never meant to be part of your destiny. The narcissist remembers you, not because they loved you, not because they regret what they did, but because you are proof that their power is not absolute. You are the one who saw through them, the one who broke free, the one who walked away when they believed you never would. That realization haunts them, whether they acknowledge it or not. They may rewrite history, twist the narrative, and try to convince themselves and others that they were the one who won. But deep inside, in the quiet moments they cannot escape, they know that they did not discard you. You escaped. And now, while they remain trapped in the same patterns, repeating the same cycles, making the same mistakes, you have moved forward. You have healed. You have grown, and you have stepped into the freedom God always intended for you. You have learned the lesson they refused to. So let them remember you however they choose. It no longer matters, because you are free, and that is a victory they will never be able to take away from you. So walk forward with strength, knowing that their memory of you is irrelevant. Your future is in God's hands, no longer bound by their control. You are stepping into a life filled with purpose, peace, and divine restoration. What was meant to break you has only made you stronger, and God's plan for you is greater than anything they tried to take away.